Good morning, or good afternoon, or good evening, or whenever you are watching and wherever you are watching from, and welcome to Creative Writing 101. Now, this is the first in a series of videos on creative writing for ages 9 to 14. Now, when I was your age, I wrote a huge amount, and I wrote my very first long story when I was about 8 or 9. Oh, I wrote a lot of things when I was small, but I only really started writing when my mom let me use her typewriter. Some of you, shock horror, won't know what a typewriter is. So here is a picture of the kind that I started on. And after a few years, I got an electronic ball typewriter, which looks like this. And that's what I wrote on. So if I wanted to go back and change a mistake, it took a long time. The very first long story that I remember writing, and by long I mean it might have been 8 or 9 pages, was called The Hat Stand. And the story was based at a hotel called the Palm Grove Hotel. I still remember that. And it involved a homicidal hat stand that would come alive at night and terrorize the guests in the hotel. I don't remember if my parents had an opinion about my choice of writing, but they didn't tell me to stop. So today, I write things for a living. Now today, I'm going to start right at the beginning, and we are going to talk about the different types of writing, which are some of the things that I'm going to cover in this series. To follow the series is really easy. Hit subscribe, hit the bell icon so that you get notified when new videos are posted, and make sure that you keep your eyes on this playlist. I don't only post videos about creative writing for kids your age, but for adults as well, so make sure that you're watching the playlist because all your stuff will be in there. So what different types of writing am I going to cover with this series? Let me name them quickly, and then I will tell you something short about each one. We are going to cover stories, poetry, essays and reports, letters and invitations, newspaper articles, and adverts. Let's start with stories. This is the easiest one to explain because chances are you've had stories read to you your entire life, since before you can even remember, and now you're reading them for yourself. Now, a story is the telling of an event or a situation or a thing that happened, whether it is real or not real. It is about what characters, or whether those characters are people or animals or cars that talk, do with that event or situation or thing. Often, a story is told in such a way that the person who reads it learns something from that story. Now, a poem is something we write to say as much as we can in as few words as possible. A poem is usually used to express a strong feeling, emotion, or thought. The writer of a poem wants to get a response from his or her readers. There are many types of poems. Some use rhyming and some don't. But what most poems have in common is that they are written to be read out loud. So the rhythm and the sound of the poem is very important. Let me give you an example. This is a type of poem called a haiku. It is a Japanese poem with only 3 lines and is about feelings and nature. The first line has 5 syllables, the second line has 7, and the third has 5 syllables again. So for example, the word example has 3 syllables, ex, arm, pull. The word word has just 1 syllable, word. Listen to this haiku and hear how the rhythm and sounds work. An old silent pond. A frog jumps into the pond. Splash, silence again. That's a cool one. Now, essays and reports are ways of writing that tell someone else about something that you think is important or something that you've been asked to report on by your teacher or by your mom or by your dad. These are usually non-fiction, which means it is about real things and is not made up like a story might be. You might, for example, be asked to write a report on the life cycle of frogs, or it might be on fossil fuels. I'm quite sure that you've been asked to do something like this already. And so, in this video series, I'm going to show you a really good way to do this. How to look at the information you need by reading the question properly. How to read the materials, be it web pages or textbooks. And whatever it is that you need to answer the question and how to write it all down so that it makes sense and is easy to read. Ah, letters. You know, people don't really write letters anymore, and I haven't seen a handwritten letter or invitation in a very long time. But why then is it important? Well, because there are mainly two types of letters. One is what we call informal, and this is the kind of letter you might write to your friends. An invitation to a party, for example, is a form of an informal letter. A formal letter, though, is a different type, and these are the kinds that you might write one day when you are applying for a job, or if you're writing an apology letter to your teacher or your mom or your dad for not having done your homework. A formal letter is written very differently to an informal one, and I'm going to cover both of them. Newspaper articles are something you will be more familiar with. You will probably have seen more newspaper articles than letters, even if you haven't actually read them. A newspaper article is written by a reporter or a journalist, and it tells about something that has happened or something that is going to happen. It usually contains only facts with no feelings and no emotions, and could be in an actual newspaper or on the internet. A newspaper article may read, for example, "The Society of Unicorn Spotters held their monthly meeting on Tuesday night. Mrs. Gladys, whatever her name is, opened the meeting by welcoming all the members and guests. As the society was also celebrating its 10th year anniversary, a special display of art from the local primary school was in the foyer to be enjoyed by all." You see how that works? Just facts and not a whole lot else. We will, as we go along with this series, look at how to write a newspaper article. Lastly, an advert. An advert is a way of writing that tells someone about a product that is for sale and that makes the person reading it want to buy that product. When I was young and watched TV, an ad would come on roughly every 7 minutes. That's a whole lot. Today, you may not see as many TV adverts, and you may be more familiar with the types of adverts that are seen on, for example, YouTube videos or video games, especially if you play on phones. But you also get print adverts, the type that appear in newspapers and magazines. And writing these are a special skill. I will be telling you what goes into them and how to write an advert properly so that people notice it and want to buy whatever it is that you're selling. So those are the main ones that we're going to look at and talk about and practice. And what I want you to do today is a small exercise. You can ask your mom or your dad or whomever is helping you with your lessons to help you if you need it. I want you to go and find examples of these things and either cut them out and paste them into your exercise book or write out whatever it is that you find. Make sure though that you write a heading for each section. Firstly, look for a favorite story of yours and write out just one paragraph. Then find some poems and read some of them until you find one that you like and write that one down. Look for an essay or a report, something short, and cut it out, paste it, or write in a section. It needn't be more than 2 or 3 paragraphs, just enough so that you can see how it's been done. Then find an example of a letter, both a formal one and an informal one, and paste those in. Then get a newspaper article and an advert and do the same. Now that you have some examples and you know what the different types look like, we can start to learn how to write them. It is important that you learn each bit, and here's my reason why. You see, when you start out, it is good to know a little about a lot. Once you know something about a lot of different types of writing, you might find yourself being interested in one of them more than another. You might find that you like newspaper articles more than you like poetry, or that you like poetry more than you like stories. And once you know what you like, you can start learning more about that type of writing until you know a lot about it. So start by learning a little about a lot. See what interests you, what makes your heart race, and what you like to read, and then learn a lot about that. So thank you for watching, and keep an eye on the playlist as these videos come out. Remember to subscribe and hit the bell icon so that you don't miss any of them. And if you have any questions at all, you can ask them in the comments. Also, it's a very good idea to subscribe to my newsletter where I will be putting all of this information as well. And you can contact me via my website if you have any questions. The links to my website and newsletter are in the description below. Until next time, cheers.